are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. It's another hashtag Mystery Monday, and I am so thrilled to welcome back New York Times bestselling author Alice Feeney, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book, Daisy Darker. Alice, live from the UK, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about Daisy Darker.
Oh, hello. It's so lovely to see you again. I can't believe I'm back, and it's been a year since Rock, Paper, Scissors. But this is my book, Daisy Darker, and authors aren't really allowed to have favourites. Our books are a little bit like children, but this one is mine. And it's another dark and twisty novel, and this one is set on a tiny tidal island just off the Cornish coast. And it's about Daisy Darker and the Darker family, who have all come together one last time to celebrate Nana's birthday. And when the tide comes in, they'll be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. And when the tide goes back out, nothing will ever be the same again, because one of them is a killer.
Ooh, oh my gosh, Alice, just like that, you hooked us with your trademark Feeney style, which everyone from Harlan Coben to Samantha Downing to Mary Kubica, everyone is raving about. We're going to get into that. You hooked me good. I am absolutely loving this work. It has all of my favorite Feeney types, but it is also poetic and beautiful and heartfelt, and so gets in there perfectly viscerally into this family. We can't wait to get into every single detail. First, I just want to welcome everyone who's watching. We are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. And it is Mystery Monday. So you know how this works. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask New York Times bestselling author Alice Feeney about Daisy Darker, about why this book is her favorite, how it's different, how long it took her. Years, she says. We need the scoop. Just get the questions going in the comments. I'll get them right over to her. They're already coming in. And Nisa saying, hello, Sara and Alice. I loved this book. Yay. Anissa, so glad to hear that and have you. So nice to see your name pop up. Shareth says, hey guys. Hi, Shareth. Welcome to the conversation. So happy to have you. We have, a mystery user who's revealed it. Christine says she absolutely loved this book, and howdy from Texas. Speaking of Texas, y'all, Alice is heading to Texas to Murder by the Book. And guess what? You can order a signed copy of Daisy Darker today. So I'm going to pop that in the comments, pre-order it. And in the notes, just say that you want Alice to sign it and who you want it to sign her to. And even if you're not in Texas, the good folks at Murder by the Book will get this signed for you, to anyone that you want, and send it out to you. And if you are in Texas, head on over there September 1st, and you can meet Alice and get your book signed in person. So here's that link for anyone who's not in Texas or anyone who is. We have another mystery user saying this is such a great hook. Melissa Watson, welcome from Australia, saying good day, Sara and Alice. Good day, Melissa. Welcome to the conversation. Shareth saying, hey, Alice, I'm a very big fan of yours. I read and listened to Daisy Darker in one day, and I am obsessed with it. It's deliciously twisty and surprisingly emotional. Let's pause on that, because Alice, it is surprisingly emotional. You go deep into this family, their old wounds, those things that fester inside of us. Anyone from a family, big family knows, but you yourself are an only child. Tell us about this.
I always worry with this book that everybody's going to think I have horrible, horrible siblings. And I don't. I'm an only child. But I think part of that fascination with families and the way that siblings interact with each other is because of being an only child and because of growing up and spending a lot of time on my own and disappearing inside books. So I think I've watched families over the years, and I've looked at the love, the hate, the jealousy, the friendship, the rivalries, all of these very complicated and different emotions that are involved in all relationships. But with siblings, it's really fascinating. And it always fascinates me how, as adults, sometimes when we're around our families, we revert back to the versions of ourselves that we were as children. And that was something I wanted to explore in this book. And that was something I wanted to force the Darkers to see while they were sitting around watching old VHS tapes of themselves, because we don't always remember things the way that they happened. And sometimes our memories of the same events can be very different indeed.
Very different and very painful. And so we see that as we see the now adult darker children rewatching tapes, seeing things that maybe they've forgotten, maybe they remember differently, things that have been deeply wounding sometimes and festered inside. I am absolutely loving this book, Alice. Both the way your signature twists and turns, which everyone from Harlan Coben to Samantha Downing is raving about, as well as this deep and emotional take on the family. Now, you mentioned that the darker family has been sitting inside you for many years, even while working on other books. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been visiting the same secluded spot in Cornwall for years now, on my birthday every year. And whenever we visit this little bay, I always picture Daisy and I picture the Darkers and I imagine Seaglass, this crumbling Gothic mansion coming out of its own tiny tidal island with the waves crashing around it. And because I kept visiting this spot and I kept literally hearing the characters arguing in my head and wanting their story to be written, it felt like a book I had to write, but it wasn't an easy book to write. It took a really long time. It was longer than any other book. It was the hardest book to write, but it was also, I suppose, the one I'm most proud of. And I did. I remember very clearly, actually, in 2018, having finished a third draft, which is when I would normally send the book to my agent. And instead of sending the book, I sent an email which was a smidgen bonkers, explaining why, despite working on this book non-stop for a very long time, I couldn't let anybody read it. And I'm quite superstitious about my writing. I don't talk about titles or anything with anyone until I'm completely finished. But I said not to worry about my deadlines. I was going to write another book and I could write it in 3 months, which I did, which was His and Hers. And I literally didn't really leave the house or have any social life for 3 months. I just worked and worked and worked, and I submitted His and Hers, and that book was published. And after His and Hers came Rock, Paper, Scissors. But in between every book, in between all the drafts and the edits that you do as an author, I kept coming back to Daisy, and I kept thinking about Daisy and desperately wanting to write the best version of her story that I could write. So I was over the moon and very relieved when a few years later, having edited a lot, and by a lot I mean I deleted most of the novel and started again, which is quite a lot of editing, I sent the novel in, and my agents and my publishers were very kind about it, and it's had the most incredible journey since. So although it was a very difficult book to write, I'm thrilled because Daisy is my favorite character I've written, and I'm just so pleased that finally she's about to go out into the world and readers can meet her.
Yay, she's about to go out into the world, out tomorrow in the US. And again, here is that pre-order link. Put in the notes who you want your book signed to, and the good folks at Murdered by the Book will have Alice sign it and send it out to you. This is such an exciting and wonderful opportunity. Catherine, welcome to the conversation. So good to have you. She says, I loved His and Hers. Me too, Catherine. And I'm actually shocked that you wrote it in 3 months. I had no idea. 90 days, Alice, but you were still thinking about the darker family. This is such a fascinating backstory. I love getting all the skinny. Melissa would like to know, did you choose the title? Tell us the story of the title, Daisy Darker.
Yes, so Daisy was always called Daisy for a very long time before I wrote a word. I've been looking for a house to renovate for a long time. I like very old properties, and we're in the house that I eventually found now. But at the very start of my house hunting, I found a house online which was owned by someone called Mrs. Darker. And it was a beautiful, very old house, but it was on the edge of a cliff. And it was down a very windy, mile-long lane to get to it. And for various reasons, I thought, this isn't the house. But there was something about it. And I found out, I did a bit of digging, and I found out a bit more. Not literally digging. I didn't go with a shovel. I just asked a few questions. And the woman who owned it was called Mrs. Darker. And she had been the inspiration for the main female character in The English Patient. And there were all kinds of stories about this woman. And I found those stories fascinating. But more than anything, I just loved her surname. And at that moment, which is years ago now, I decided that that would be a great surname for Daisy, Daisy Darker. And it stuck, and the Darker family, and it all just sounded right. So it's so interesting how parts of the story come together, and little inspirations do come from everywhere, really, all parts of life, everyone you meet, everything you see, everything you read, it all goes in somewhere, and sometimes it comes together in just the right way.
Wow. Oh my God. I am sitting here in shock that you found in your search for a house, for an old house to renovate, and you did end up with a very old house, which you had just moved into. Your boxes were still packed when we last talked a year ago. But I can't believe you found a house owned by a woman whose name whose name was Mrs. Darker. This is
what a fabulous name.
What a fabulous name. Yeah, exactly. I would like to marry into that name. That is absolutely fabulous. I'm going to have to process this. This is so cool. Christine says she is sad to be missing your event at Murder by the Book, but she already pre-ordered one that is personalized. Yay, Christine. Absolutely fabulous. Melissa would like to know, what gave you the idea for the book? Yeah, so here we have a locked room thriller, and so many people are huge fans of locked room thrillers. Bonus points that there is a map. Who else loves a book with a map? Hands up. There's something so fabulous and fun. I just want to live at Sea Glass. Tell us the story about getting this idea for this book.
I think it came from so many different places, and it took a really long time, like all of my books. So His and Hers, which I mentioned, it took 3 months to write. But I'd been thinking about that idea for at least 2 years before I wrote a word. And I do tend to do a lot of thinking first. So Daisy, the character, popped into my head after seeing Daisy Ridley in Star Wars. And that makes very little sense. If you've seen Star Wars and you've read the book, they're very completely different. But it planted some kind of seed. And I knew that I wanted to call this character Daisy. And that was the start of her story. And then I remember visiting Cornwall that year for my birthday. And I understood that this is where they live. And I could see it. I mean, Sea Glass isn't a real place. I wish it was. I wish I could visit there. But I could see the house, and I could see the bay, and I could picture the family walking along. And then I think there were so many other little factors that played a part. The map that you've shown at the start of the book, I remember drawing a very bad version of that in my manuscript when I sent it to everybody to read for the first time. And I thought, they'll never let me do this because this is a thriller and I'm not going to be allowed to have, drawings in my book. But thankfully, I have the best publishers in the known universe, and they allowed me to have it. But they did say they would get a proper artist to draw them instead. I love them, and that's really beautiful. And I think because parts of this book were written and edited during the pandemic, and we were all spending so much time at home, that those feelings of feeling trapped and claustrophobic and stuck somewhere with your family, and even if you love them, we can't all go out and we're not free anymore. And I think also I was playing quite a bit of Cluedo, so that might have also fed into really wanting to have this map at the start and to give readers a really good sense of where we are in the house and where all the characters are and who is where when things start to go a little bit wrong.
I love a book with maps. Anytime there's a map, it's just an automatic bonus situation for me. I love maps and secret little Clue, which of course is the British version being Cluedo, the American version being Clue. I liked to be Miss Scarlet. It was my favorite game growing up. If my cousin got Miss Scarlet first, and sometimes she did because she was fast, I would then be Professor Plum. But it is very Clue-like, and I picture myself in this mansion, this family stuck in, and and one going from room to room, wondering, my goodness, who is going to be next? So absolutely loving this premise. Stephanie Cooper, welcome to the conversation. She's a fabulous bookstagrammer. She is at Fire Pit and Book. She says, hi, yes, I loved this book so much, by far her best. And I know that Stephanie is a huge fan of all of your books, Alice. And I totally agree, Stephanie. Also my favorite, and also a huge fan of all of the books, but this one is just, there's something so special about this one. Shareth, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I always want to get your name right. Saying that the acknowledgments read by you made me teary-eyed. The special mention to the audio book narrator. What a performer she is. Alice, talk about the acknowledgments.
Well, it takes a small army of people to publish a book. I just do the fun part, really. I get to just sit here behind me. That's my desk. That's where I actually do all of my writing. And I make up the stories, and I really love my job. I think I've got the best job in the world. And I'm lucky enough to work with, honestly, the best agents in the known universe and the best publishers in the known universe. And these are the guys who take my stories and turn them into books that everyone else can read. And they are the best people. All of them are the best at what they do, and they make the books look beautiful, and they get the books out there into readers' hands. And so it's always really important to me in the acknowledgements to thank as many of those people as I possibly can, because I wouldn't be able to have the best job in the world without them. So they all mean a lot to me.
I think one of the things that would surprise people is how very many people are involved in publishing a book, because I think we have this idea that here's Alice Feeney sitting in her 16th century English cottage, hard at work, perhaps by candlelight, sipping a tea and just coming up with brilliant books. And they just, they arrive as fully formed ideas and they flow with ease into your fingertips, or maybe not with ease. Maybe you're Hemingway, you're just clawing your way and, popping, chugging vodka, but then it just comes out into the world. And so I loved, and thank you, Sharath, for saying that.
It's just
acknowledge your
water from
water. Yes, exactly. I love that, Alice. Great, Shara. Thank you, Sharath. Please let me know which way to say your name. I love that you noticed that, and Alice, thanks for filling us in with that. Anissa saying, this is a family with just a few secrets. Yes, indeed. Just a few secrets. Let's talk about those secrets, Alice. So you worked on this book for many years. It took you longer than any of your other books. Do you plot out the secrets? This happened and that's a secret, this childhood incident, or do you go back later and insert them? Do you sit down and let the spirit move you? What's your process for the secrets and the twists?
I am such a planner, so I have to think about the books for a really long time, sometimes years, before I will write a word. And before I start, there's always a day which I call the board day, which, now that I've said it out loud, doesn't sound very exciting, and I think I should give it a different name, but that's what I've always called it, the board day. And there is a huge board just behind you, which actually has my next book plotted out all over it. And I tend to plot using colored cards, nothing very modern or expensive. I know there are all kinds of whizzy gadgets for these things, but I'm an old-fashioned kind of girl, and so yes, it's different cards. Different cards will represent different timelines, different characters, different points of view, and everything. All of the chapters are mapped out on the board behind you, which looks like the work of a mad woman, to be honest. But to me, it means I can see the whole book and all the twists and all the turns and all the characters and the whole story in one place. And I need that. I'm not sure why I need that, but I need to see everything. And I think I always try to explain it like going for a walk in the countryside. There are some people who would just like to go and ramble and just see where they end up. And I'm the kind of person who, if I didn't plan my journey and have a map, I would spend the whole time worrying about getting lost instead of enjoying the journey. So I'm a planner, absolutely 100% a planner. But that doesn't mean things don't change during the writing process. Sometimes the fingers do things you don't expect them to do, and little twists and turns will just come up during the writing, and it'll be something that might make the book better or more exciting, or you might move something here or change something on the giant board to make things pacier, or for all kinds of reasons. So no, I plan everything, and then I see where the story takes me.
So when you're looking at your color-coded map, and I also color code by Post-its, and I color code them by point of view, and then I have red Post-it notes for big action scenes because I love color-coded Post-its as well. So Alice, do you look at it, you're like, ooh, there's not enough, action happening over here in the upper right quadrant. I better do a few twists over there. At this point in being, deemed the queen of twists, do you have a sense of, about how many you need, about where they go? Or
the twists, I tend to know most of them before I start anything, because I need to know where to leave the clues, where to sow little seeds of doubt and where to leave breadcrumbs for readers to find. I'm so grateful to have so many amazing readers, but there are some very dedicated readers out there who will go back and read my books a second time. And I'm always so pleased when they agree that the clues are there. So you have to be fair with the reader. If I'm reading a book, I don't want a twist to just come out of nowhere. The clues have to be there so that you've got the chance to figure everything out, but hopefully well enough hidden that you can still enjoy the story for what it is and still think that you've guessed what is going on, but possibly not quite got it 100%.
Ooh, I like that. And I like what you say about having to be fair with the reader, because I think sometimes people get so focused on the gotcha moment that we sacrifice that fairness. And I, for one, do not enjoy that. So I totally, I see what you're saying, and I agree. Someone is saying, so true. When you get back with your family, you revert back to your roles no matter how old you get. Yes, exactly. And in the case of the Darkers, you revert back to your childhood bedroom, your childhood bed, the roles, your role in the family. You find yourself, even if you've evolved past who that person was, your childhood self, when you're back with the people who knew you as a little one, it's easy to revert to those pre-evolved roles. Do you find yourself doing that even though you're an only child? Do you find yourself doing that at family gatherings, Alice?
No, I think I'm the only normal one, which is probably what everybody thinks. But certainly Christmas gatherings, I love hosting Christmas. I'm a big fan of Halloween, which you can probably tell from the book, but I'm also a big fan of Christmas. And I love having everyone here for Christmas. I love cooking big meals for a lot of people. I cook normal roast meals, not the kind of meals that Nana cooks in the book, although I might try that one day just for fun. No, so I always look around and just think, I'm the only normal one here. I need to write about these crazies. No, not really. My family, lovely. But it is interesting sort of watching at these big family gatherings or weddings or at hen do's, all these things where you come back together with people you've known from a different time in your life. And somehow you just slip back into that version of yourself without even really knowing that you're doing it. I find that fascinating. It's like we time travel through the joint memories that we share with other people and suddenly go back to who and where we were with them. It's really interesting, and I think it happens to probably almost all of us.
It definitely happens to me. I 100% relate. Johnny, welcome to the conversation, saying all of your other books, the main character's name starts with an A. Why the change now to D for Daisy Darker?
Oh, Johnny, that is a very good question.
Johnny's paying attention.
Johnny is paying attention. So I remember visiting. So you are getting all the scoops, all these things I'm giving away today. I remember visiting Germany for my first book being published in Germany, and my lovely translator there, we visited a Christmas market and we were drinking. I don't even know what it was that we were drinking. It was very alcoholic, but it was lovely. And the Christmas market, I remember they had a Santa Claus who flew across the sky, an actual guy in a sleigh with reindeer. I've never seen anything like it, so I worried about what they were giving me to drink. But it was real. They celebrate Christmas. It was really good fun. I've gone off track a little bit, but the point was my lovely translator said to me, your next book, the main character, her name starts with the letter A, and your name is Alice. Are you calling all of your characters names that begin with A because secretly they are you? And I remember almost choking on my drink at the Christmas market because I write quite unlikable characters and I like to think that I don't have too much in common with many of them. So it was a really interesting question, but it tickled me so much that I decided to carry that on. And you're right, Johnny, I did do that on purpose for full books. And it was like a little joke with myself, which now I'm sharing with you, which probably isn't funny for anyone except me.
I'm finding it funny. Alice, first of all, props to you, Johnny. I didn't notice that. I'm now thinking, how did I not notice? But I am just picturing you at this German Christmas bazaar, drinking your possibly laced punch watching a flying Santa Claus and having someone ask you, so are you your highly unlikable characters, Alice?
Yeah.
I can picture this viscerally and like some German Christmas music, going in the background.
That is exactly what happened, and it really wasn't the reason why the main character in book 2, and her name started with an A for a totally different reason, because that was a name that I liked and that was what I wanted to call the character. But just the idea that people thought all of these characters were, it just tickled me in a way that I was so amused I had to carry on the tradition. Which I have now confessed to all of you. But yes, you are right. The main character is not does not start with an A in this book, and read into that what you will.
Ooh, dun dun dun. Now, Alice, are you going to go back to your A game, or are we going into, what do you think?
Watch this space, we shall see.
Ooh, or maybe we're going to work our way through the alphabet. Are we going to see a B? I mean, we have a Beatrice, darker. We could, who knows what New York Times bestselling author Alice Feeney will dazzle us with next, but we will be here for it. And Alice, you got to come back next year because we got to know. Anissa saying she loves that their last name is darker. Yes, exactly. Because it wasn't until I got into the book, when I read the cover and I saw the cover, I thought, oh, it's Daisy being darker or something. It wasn't until I got into it that I'm like, oh, that's actually their family name. They're all that. And now today I've learned that there was a Mrs. Darker dwelling in a house, an ancient house on the side of a cliff. Loving this backstory. Thank you. So many questions. We're going to get to all of them. Thank you guys for tuning in, for spending your Mystery Monday with us. Christine saying she loves all of your books. Yay. So glad to know. Oh, Christine would like to know, do you have any input in your cover? So this is a gorgeous cover, Alice. And when you can actually see the Nana Darker's house there up on the cliff. Tell us the story of the cover.
So I'm so lucky. I do love all of my covers, and we've got 3 beautiful covers this year. So we have a special Cornish edition in the UK because the book is set in Cornwall. Then we have what I call the Daisy cover, which is the UK main edition cover. And then we have this beautiful, beautiful turquoise seascape cover for readers in the US. And it is beautiful, isn't it? And how it works, I always wonder what other authors do, but I tend to get sent a couple of different options, and I say which one I like, and I normally like all of them, so that's a really easy decision to make. And I love that with this one, my lovely editor, who is also called Christine, good name. I wonder if this is Christine spying. See what I say about the cover. I love the cover, Christine. You know I love the cover. It's fine. But I remember.
I think this is Christine. I think this is our mystery and thriller maven member, Christine Mott Gettler. But I could be wrong. It could be undercover Christine. We don't know yet.
We shall find out. But I remember her saying we're going to put a little bit of turquoise on the roof. And if you look really closely, there really is a turquoise roof on the house that looks a little bit like sea glass there in the distance. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's really atmospheric. I think you really sort of embrace the setting of sea glass and this tiny tidal island with the crashing waves and that feeling of cold and isolation and things not being quite right, not quite what they seem. So I think it's a beautiful cover.
It is a beautiful cover, and thank you for that inside scoop, and knowing that you got a choice and this is the one you went with. Caitlin, or perhaps it's Catlin, I'm not sure, saying she's halfway through Daisy Darker and it is so good, beautiful prose, and I'm taking my time. This wouldn't be because I don't want it to end. Oh my gosh, I literally said the same thing. There is a poetic, not just choice of words, but also a rhythm to this book. It is very poetic, very beautifully written, absolutely beautiful prose. Tell us about your prose process? Did that, because you are so connected emotionally to this book, did that come out of you? Did you go back and polish and hone it, or tell us about that, Alice?
It's both, really. There are parts that come out during the writing, and then sometimes when I go back, I'll think of something else, especially that Nana would say. Nana comes out with some brilliant lines in this book. And when I say that, I feel slightly bonkers because obviously I keep having to remind myself Nana is not real. But to me, these characters are. They lived in my head for so long. And even in the last few weeks, there have been a couple of moments where I have felt as though I was quoting Nana and I'd stolen a line from her, and I had to remind myself that I gave her the lines in the first place. So they did come from my head, not hers. So no, it was really interesting because they're all such different characters, and they've all got their own demons, and they've all got things that they believe in, and things they feel very strongly about. But I wanted them all to have very distinct voices, as we all do in families. We might grow up in the same family, but we don't all necessarily share the same views, the same opinions. We don't all necessarily think the same ways or speak even the same ways. So that was really important to me. And it's been a journey, but thank you very much, because that means a lot. And I enjoyed writing so many parts of this book, even though it took a long time. So it's lovely to hear that people are enjoying reading it too.
Yay. Mystery user would like to know, are there any, if you're watching from a private Facebook group, by the way, Mystery and Thriller Mavens or Bitchy Bookworms, two of our book groups, you can enable privacy settings, or you can stay mysterious. This is Mystery and Thriller Mavens after all. This person would like to know, are there any writers who have influenced you? Yes, you've gotten so many rave reviews on this from incredibly well-respected writers that you adore. Tell us, who clearly adore you. Who's influenced your writing, Alice?
I always think of Daisy Darker as my Agatha Christie book. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, and I read a lot of Agatha Christie growing up. And so this book, I always think of it as my own personal little tribute to one of my favorite authors. So there is an influence of And Then There Were None, which is even mentioned in the book. And if you're a keen Christie fan, you'll notice there are other little nods to some of her other works in there as well. So I always think of, actually, I think even Daisy in the book will say that her childhood friends were Agatha Christie and Stephen King. And that was very true for me as well. Daisy stole that bit from my childhood, but that's definitely true. And then in terms of authors today, I've been honestly blown away by the support from other authors. It's been really, really incredible this year. Authors who I admire so much, who are at the top of their game, taking the time to read Daisy and say really kind things about the book. And the Harlan Coben talking about Daisy on the Today Show, that was just incredible. I was and I'm so grateful. And I was actually in a bookshop 2 weeks ago telling the bookseller what had happened and how exciting it was to see this video and to see my book being talked about on television in this way by an author who I think is incredible, absolutely amazing. But because I was telling the story and I was meant to be signing copies, I accidentally, instead of writing Alice, wrote H.A. because I was saying Harlan Coben. And I thought, oh, I've now accidentally signed one of my books Harlan Coben, but I'd only written H.A. And we all looked at it and I said, I know, I'll just write Happy Reading from Alice Feeney. So if anyone in Cornwall has a book with an extra message that says Happy Reading, you nearly got it signed by Harlan Coben. Maybe that would have been better. I don't know. But that's what happened. And no, the support has been really, really, really overwhelmingly lovely. And I'm very, very grateful.
Oh my gosh. I now want my book signed Harlan Coben, but really Alice Feeney. Speaking of Harlan Coben, he raved, Alice Feeney is great with twists and turns. High praise there from the King Coben himself. And it's so great to see him resonating with your book as well. And also, speaking of Agatha Christie, books not everyone can watch with us live. A lot of people watch the replay. Lindsay, who is a bookstagrammer, aka Reading Rambo, sent me a message and said, let's pop this up, that Daisy Darker is, quote, her favorite retelling of Then There Were None. So here is her review right here. And I'm going to link to it so you can go and read Lindsay's review. She just posted it yesterday. You can go and check out Lindsay's review. She is spoiler alert. She's a huge fan. So here's the link to Lindsay's review. I love knowing that Alice. I love knowing that Agatha Christie is one of your favorite writers, and that this is an homage to her. That's really special to know. So thank you for sharing that. Let's get through some of these other amazing comments. Catherine would like to know, are you a plotter? So you share that you are. Loving that. Sydney once saying, I loved this book. It is so atmospheric. She'd like to know, is there an adaptation in the works?
Fingers crossed. When I can tell you, you'll be the first to know.
Oh my gosh, we would love to be the first to know. So when I was reading it, I could see this in my mind, Sydney, right? You can see the turquoise terrace, you can see the wall of clocks, you can hear the waves crashing outside, you can see the causeway that's sometimes underwater and inaccessible. You write so visually and so clearly that I am sure an adaptation will happen. It has to. Sherry, welcome to the conversation, saying she is so excited for this book. Sherry, don't forget to pre-order your copy right here. I'm going to pop the link in the comments one more time, and put in the notes that you would like Alice to sign it to you. Mr. User saying, so glad that you're a writer. I look forward to each new book. If you were not a writer, oh, cool question. What would you be doing?
Ooh. That is a good question. Well, I was a journalist with the BBC for 15 years, but I was always secretly writing on the train to work and in my lunch breaks, if I had a lunch break, and on the way home. And so I might still be there, or I might be just going around the country, going to zoos and letting all the animals out or something like that, and setting everyone free. And yes, so it's probably good that I'm a writer. It's probably the right thing for me to be doing.
I love that. And I will join you in the setting the animals free mission. Just say the word. I'm happy to come and help open up things. Another mystery asking, are those ceiling beams in your house? We love them. Yeah, tell us about this. So you moved in 1 year ago and you were trying to make it feel like home.
We had, so when I spoke to you last year, I'd literally just moved in like less than a week beforehand, so we were surrounded by boxes. But yes, I live in a very old thatched cottage down a lane with no name in the Devon countryside, and parts of it are 13th century where we are now, and parts of it are 16th century. And then there's a tiny little kitchen, which is the modern wing, we call it as a joke. It's very small, but it's Victorian. So the whole thing is very, very old. And these beams that you can see behind me, we were told they were cut by hand with an axe. So this would have been an old little hall that people gathered in once upon a time to tell stories. So it feels quite nice that it's now what I call my shed, and I tell stories of my own here. And when I touch the beams and when I put my hand on the wall, I almost feel as though the house itself has soaked up some of those stories and some of those feelings from all these people who've been here in one way or another over the last few years. So it's a really lovely, cozy hideaway in the middle of nowhere, and I'm very happy here, just me and my characters hanging out every day.
I love that. If these walls could talk, I mean, wow, because how many stories would they hold? How many crazy things have they seen, and love and loss and sadness and joy and transformative moments from the 13th century on. Oh my God, Alice, that's kind of a great, crazy thing to really sit and think about. But hopefully you're not scared of any ghosts lurking.
No. If there are ghosts, there are only friendly ones, so it's all good.
Okay, that's all good. Sharath saying, you fooled me every time, Alice. Yes, you are the queen of twists, and you do fool us every time. I have yet to guess the end of an Alice Feeney book correctly, and I'm guessing that's not going to change anytime soon. The darker dwelling, yay! Oh, Christine is saying that it is Christine. Christine Mott, and I'm sorry, I got your name inverted, Christine, but I know who you are. I recognize you. So good to have you with us today. Thanks for tuning in. Just making sure I didn't miss any comments here as I'm scrolling through. Y'all, Catherine saying, I just called in an order to the store and was told it could not be autographed to me, but you've mentioned it twice. I thought that they could. I apologize if that's not the case. I'm so sorry. I thought that was the case. I apologize if I got that wrong. I will double check it right after this. Catherine, and I wonder if you can submit an order on the internet and just write a little note pleading to them, or you know what? I can also see if I can get something signed and send it to you as well, Catherine. Just DM me after this. I want to get to some of the okay, someone's saying, yes, they can, and she will be in person there at the end of the month at her event. Exactly. She will be in person. So I think it is possible, Catherine, and we're going to keep that. We're going to make that happen for you. and for everyone here. Yay. Okay, so I want to get to some of this amazing praise. Lisa Jewell, bestselling author of The Foundling Upstairs, says Daisy Darker is clever, compelling, confounding, and absolutely delicious. Let's pop that up. Congratulations on this rave review from one of our favorite authors, Lisa Jewell. And she is not the only one. You got a starred review from Booklist, which caused this sinisterly satisfying. I loved that. And seeing this resonate with so many people in so many different ways. And as we wrap up here, Alice, is there anything that you've never shared about Daisy Darker that you could share with us today? I always try to pry at least one secret out of guests.
Oh, I think it's all in the book. I think Daisy has decided to share all of her secrets with you, but you won't know about her biggest secret probably until towards the end of the story.
And I love that it is, that Nana Darker is a children's author, and the name of her book is Daisy Darker's Little Secret. So Daisy, and I love sort of the double the double entendre of writing about actual Daisy, and the many secrets of the Darker family. Sarah Pinborough, raving, wow, echoes of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, but turned into something wonderfully original. Sarah was on the show when her latest book came out, and it's so great to see this resonating with her as well. Y'all, here's the pre-order link one more time. Just click on over and order your copy and ask for it to be personalized in the notes. Alice will be heading to Texas, and this is your chance to get a signed copy from this incredible New York Times, but British-based author down a lane with no name. This is her chance. She's coming out of the lane. She's coming to Texas. She's going to sign your book. So do not miss out on this incredible opportunity. Christine, thank you so much. She says, Sarah, you're an amazing interview. Christine, you're too kind. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Alice, thank you for hopping on this special pre-launch event, giving us the inside scoop on all of the Daisy Darker's, the Darker family's many secrets, big and small. I am absolutely devouring this book, and I know you all will too. So click and order. That is a wrap on this interview. I'll see you tonight with William Kent Kruger. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Oh, sorry. Do you have time for one last question? Sharath would like to know, what are you working on? So Alice is very superstitious, she shared. She's wondering if we can give us any tiny sneak.
Well, the next book, I'm pleased to say, is written. And as soon as I get back from my US tour, I'll be sharing that with my agents and my publishers. And also, I'm happy to share that hopefully the Netflix adaptation of Rock, Paper, Scissors will be filming next year. So I'm excited to go to Scotland and to see those characters come to life on screen.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting, Alice. Congratulations. Oh, I can't wait to see the Netflix adaptation of Rock, Paper, Scissors. How freaking good is that going to be? That is going to be one tasty, tasty adaptation. I can't wait. So thank you for this juice, and very cool to know that you've already written your next book. Okay, so hopefully we will see you in a year and get the inside scoop on that one.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for all of your wonderful questions. And I will see you tonight. Happy Mystery Monday.